have a seat right here and we'll get started in a second. Get some-
Watch your step. You need some water.
Okay, thank you.
May I proceed, Your Honor?
Yes, sir, go ahead, Mr. Coleman.
Please state your name.
Gabriel Coon,
I think it's kind of obvious, but how are you employed?
by Hardy County Fire Rescue.
How long have you worked for Hardy County Fire Rescue?
Actually, it'll be 9 years tomorrow.
And what do you do for them?
I'm a firefighter paramedic.
I think we might have an idea, but why don't you just tell us what that is?
So firefighter paramedic, of course, you know, the firefighter part, you know, we're in charge of suppression of all kind of fire incidents. Then the paramedic part is just the EMS part, emergency medical services. So any kind of emergency, medical emergency that people have, we'll go out and respond to it. So we're dual certified in both of those.
And do you require any specialized training when it comes to the medical aspect? I'm sure at the firefighting, yes. I don't mean to ignore that.
I did with Hardy County Fire Rescue. I did 4 years as an EMT and 5 years as a paramedic. So it's about 3 months to 6 months for EMT school, another 11 months with paramedic, and about 6 months for to become a firefighter.
So you pretty well trained on rendering medical assistance?
Yes,
And I'm sorry, how long you said you've been doing that again?
9 years tomorrow.
And let me ask you this, sir. Were you doing the same type of duty since it was 9 years on November 1st of 2022?
Yes, sir.
And let's just get to why you're here, okay? Do you recall participating in attempting to treat 7-month-old Uriel shock on that day?
Yes, sir. I was a charged paramedic.
Can you explain how you became involved?
So I was on a rescue that day. So we got dispatched to the call, and I believe it came out as a cardiac arrest. And with the additional notes, they said that the child has been left in the car since around noontime.
Okay. And so how did you get there that day?
We was in a rescue, the ambulance, and so we drove there to the scene.
And do you remember where you went to?
Yes, we went to, you want the address?
You can refresh your recollection if you need to.
Yeah, 1478 Kazan Road in Wauchula, Florida.
And what was going on when you got out there, sir?
So when we arrived on scene, I think we was more directed to go towards the back of the house. As we was approaching, I guess it was the grandfather. He was kind of in a hysterical state. He already had pulled the child out of the back of the vehicle and had her on the ground. You know, like I said, he was hysterical, crying. It looked as if he was trying to do CPR. When we arrived, we parked the rescue probably about a couple feet away from it. I exited out of the vehicle. I walked around, picked the patient up, and at that time, you know, I can feel how hot she was.
Let me stop you there, sir. And when you say patient, are we talking about Uriel?
Yes, sir.
And was Uriel a child? Was she an infant?
Yeah, she was an infant.
Okay. Now you said you picked her up. You noticed she was hot.
Yes.
Was
So when I picked her up, I could feel through my gloves. She was just hot to touch. She had on, I would say, something that you would normally put a child in during the wintertime. It was like a long sleeve onesie, like a real fuzzy onesie.
Did you notice anything about the onesie she was in?
Yes, it was very damp.
Damp, you said?
Damp
Okay.
from, you know, sweating.
Okay. So once you pick her up, what did you do at this point?
At that point, we went ahead, because we used the back of our rescue. We use it as more of like a controlled environment. So we entered into the rescue, and that's when we started proceeding to do CPR efforts at that time.
And so is doing CPR on an infant a little more different than you would normally do?
It can be. It could be more of a little bit more traumatic, but
Okay. Now, what else are you doing? You're doing CPR, or what other types of medical treatment are you rendering?
yep. So we're doing CPR, which is chest compressions at that time. The other person that was on the truck with me, he started an IO, which is intraosseous, which is basically, instead of going with an IV into the vein, it just goes straight into the bone, which was in the lower leg area, the tib fib area. So we can begin giving medications a little bit quicker at that time. And as he's doing that, I was beginning to intubate the patient because we needed to secure an airway. But at that time, when I was getting ready to insert the blade into the patient's mouth, I noticed that she was clenched, which means
Let me stop you there. You were getting ready to? What do you mean she was clenched?
her jaw was just kind of locked in place at that time. Usually we'll have to push medications like succinylcholine to kind of get them to relax. But at that time, once we started doing, further evaluation, we noticed that she started to have rigor mortis that was already set in.
And I think we all have an idea of what that is, but what is rigor mortis?
So that's just stiffening of the muscles and stuff. Once you kind of like pass away or death occurs, the chemicals in the muscles start to leave, and that's just when your muscles and stuff starts to constrict and stuff. But
Where did you notice the rigor?
in her limbs, in her upper limbs,
And how does that show?
just the arms itself will be just kind of in place,
Okay.
stuck in place there.
And so did you make any other observations other than the rigor?
Yes, that she also had lividity also, which is the pooling of the blood. So once the body, stops circulating blood, with the help of gravity, basically whatever lower portions to the body, gravity just pulls the blood down to the lower parts of the body.
And what did that lead you to believe, sir?
That she's been dead for a while.
And so what did you do at this point? Did you continue your life-saving treatment?
No, at this point, we went ahead and radioed over to Advent Health Wauchula and spoke with the doctor on hand, Dr. DeWan, and we gave him our findings at that time, and he gave us the go ahead and basically call it a signal 7, which is dead on arrival at that point.
And even though there was nothing that could be done, what was done with Uriel at that time?
At that point, we just basically just transported to the hospital because it's in our protocol. All pediatric cardiac arrest must be transported to the hospital at that point.
So regardless of her status, you still took her to the hospital?
Right. Right.
All right, sir. I don't think I have any further questions for you.
Okay.
Defense any cross-examination?
No question, John.
All right, we're gonna do one more witness, and then I'm gonna deal with another matter, okay?
Yes, sir. Okay. And Your Honor, this witness can be used.
Yes, you may be excused,
All
sir.
right, thank you.
You may be excused, correct?
That's correct, John.
All right,